Prism concept essentially was born out of a desire to provide timely information to pedestrians at special events. Initially, we conceived of this concept in three distinct parts.
The first is what we call crowd metrics. Is there a way that we can provide some automatic measurement of the size of the crowd, the density of the crowd, the direction the crowd's moving, things like that. It's amazing in this day and age of all the automation we have how much of that still remains on visual feedback. We're doing this in cooperation and feedback with people like the National Park Police and others that are responsible for managing large crowds. Their concern is they have adequate information now, but a lot of that information requires expert judgment, and the more they can rely on automated tools, the easier it helps their job.
The second component would be to convey information, timely, critical information to these pedestrians at the special events regarding weather, traffic situations, emergency events. The third component was to provide a robust and fail-safe backbone to make this system work. We chose to focus on the first component, specifically detecting pedestrian movement at special events by utilizing Bluetooth signals from their mobile devices, and thusly we would be able to detect pedestrian movement, directionality, density of the crowd.
The majority of the people in the crowd will have a device on them that's capable of communicating not only through cell towers, but also through Wi-Fi, also through Bluetooth, and soon to be near-field communications. Putting a system in place to relay that critical information in a very robust way. The technology we deployed for crowd sensing is based off of TrafX's core technology that we use many times to monitor freeways and arterials. And technically it's based on Bluetooth communications technology, but basically how it works is if you configure a detector appropriately, it can sense within its field of view, and that field of view can be anywhere from 10 meters to 100 meters, people or devices that happen to pass through.
The basics of it is easy to understand. You know, the devices pick up Bluetooth devices as they go by, and it's a unique signal that they get. So when you pass by the sensor, it's a unique signal. It passes by another sensor, it's a unique signal. You can track where people moved, where they went, how long they stayed at one. You don't know who the person is, but a device has gone by this detector, and you know where it went.
We had an opportunity to prototype some of this capability, and it was at an event called Sakura Matsuri, a Japanese festival that occurs every year in conjunction with the Cherry Blossom Festival in Washington, D.C.
I'm John Malott. I'm the president of the Japan-America Society here in Washington, D.C. The thing that we're most famous for is the Sakura Matsuri, which is one of the signature events of the National Cherry Blossom Festival. Yeah, we heard from them, and first of all, we had to understand what the technology was. As the organizer of the event, we also wanted to make sure that we understood if there were any privacy concerns about monitoring people as they moved around the festival, and we understood after explanations that this was an undetectable system and that nothing was going to be compromised at all. So we started to see the benefits to us of trying to learn more about where people are, what entrances do they come through, where do they leave from, what stages. We have 4 stages that are going simultaneously for 7 hours.
They were also hoping to monitor how many people were coming from the various metro stations, Metro Center, Federal Triangle, Archives.
Yeah, we did this experiment, and I was concerned about getting all these details in place and how was this going to work and exactly where were these detectors going to go. And the day that we got there, we walked around and said, oh, it would work best here, and put it up quickly and moved on to the next one. And so it was easy to be flexible on site. It was very quick. The deployment took very little time. The thing that's cool about it being able to be easily deployed is that it really tailors it to special events. Someone might be able to create an infrastructure that's very involved in a fixed location, but special events are in a variety of places, and you need to be able to come in, set it up, and remove it. And that's what's really great about this technology.
Much of the work into placing the sensors was to look at the map, look at the event, look at the anticipated densities, and strategically place these sensors. We chose 11 locations, some of them at crossroads, some of those at entrances, some of those at event stages, and we're able to monitor the number and the density of the crowd that attended Sakura Matsuri.
Things like this help us. We'd like to know what is the peak time, when are most people there, how long do they stay. Until now, we've never had any accurate way of measuring when people come, when they leave, how long they stay, where they are during the day at the festival. And I think this technology offers us, as the organizer, an opportunity to learn a lot of these things in a much more methodical and scientific fashion, rather than simply just trying to eyeball it during the day and make our own guesses.
The festival itself was great, beautiful day, lots of fun. You know, my role on that particular day was to set up the computer, the laptop that we had, to basically capture the data that was being sent over from the sensors, as well as from the Twitter and Flickr feeds, and then aggregate that information and display it in close to real time while we're there at the event.
The first thing that was of interest to me was the accuracy of the Bluetooth technology, which basically correlated very, very closely with our data on what entrances people came in, and also what metro stops people use the most. But what the technology gave us was a lot more accurate information about the time. We learned, for example, that the peak really is from about 12:45 until 2:45 to 3:15 or so in the afternoon. We sort of knew that, but now we have that validation. In the future, I think that will allow us to make sure that we have enough people at each entrance, or that we can deploy people around the festival as needed. So that was very useful.
Once the data is analyzed, they can determine potentially where people's movement occurred or where people tended to queue, and that data could be used for their sponsors. For example, McDonald's was a sponsor, and if they knew that a lot of people were, the queue time, or the dwell time, I should say, was greater at the J-pop stage, for example, they may want to locate their tent there next year.
Another aspect that we brought into this information stream had more to do with the emergency management aspect. In speaking with park police, they frequently would like to know where their personnel is or where a key person is. And we had what we called our roving medic. We provided her the tools as well as the communication links, and ran several demonstrations of how a person that is adequately linked into the system could provide both feedback of where they're at, as well as act as a roving sensor, providing information, possibly even snapshots of activity throughout the day.
It's a big festival. It's 6 square blocks, and we don't always know where everybody is. We have a general idea of where they're supposed to be, but the ability to pinpoint them within 50 feet, which is what I think this technology can do, is very, very good. That we will be able to track people down and find out where they are. It's also useful, I think, it would be a way for us to combine the knowledge of our own chairs and sub-chairs with where the district government officials are. Where are the police officers, where are the fire marshals, the 911 people, the Homeland Security staff. I think over time we can make sure that we all can be in touch with each other and know where we are.
What we gathered at Sakura Matsuri, it really accomplished what we set out to do. It was a physical realization of what we're calling this Prism concept of measuring crowds, communicating with crowds, and doing it in a very robust way. It doesn't have all the elements there, and we'd like to take it to the next stage, but now we have the experience, now we have demonstrated and can share with partners here is the concept, here is the evidence that it works and that it could work very well.
And right now we're focusing on our detection ability and our ability to study and analyze the data. As that grows, the information that we can convey to people, I think, is enormous. I mean, when you collect a lot of data, how do you make it informational? How do you make it something that's really useful? The graphics that we're working on will provide very useful information to people, make it really accessible. And then when we move into the other aspects of what we're developing, to have a really dependable communications channel.
I want to take advantage of the many cultural, many great events that happens that expose my children to. At the same time, in the back of my head are all the concerns of safety and security, particularly when you have young children. You know, they scratch their knee. Where do you find a Band-Aid? They frequently have to go to use the restroom at the most inappropriate time, so where do you locate those resources? And probably in the worst case, you know, if there is a major threat, whether it be weather, whether it be terrorism, whether it be anything, how do I respond appropriately? And it's these thoughts that we all had in the back of our heads that, yeah, we'd like to provide some commercial aspect as far as making it more enjoyable, but to be a real success, we want it to be the backbone for the safety and security of an event, for the attendees as well as for the management.